Hello, and welcome to the Rumble Talk Show. I'm with Dan, as always. How you doing, Dan?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, doing really well. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So what's been happening in the world of wrestling? It's just a bit mad still, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of made myself look like a bit of a muppet, haven't I? All my predictions last week came true.
I know.
No, yeah, obviously, Vince has come back, which, again, you know, I'm surprised. I genuinely didn't think that he would. I then said that there's no chance that he'd sell to the Saudis. Then it obviously all broke that he has, and then he hasn't, and then he has, and then he hasn't, and
yeah,
you know, it's probably now the most likely thing is the Saudis. That's probably the most likely. So both of my big predictions last week were shocking. But I can only like give my opinion on what I think is
going to happen, sort of thing.
Yeah, but you know, and I didn't see Vince coming back, and you know, the whole Triple H is still in charge of creative. Look, this is Vince McMahon. That, you know, is he gonna just sit on the board and just do board things and not be involved in creative?
No,
I don't think so. I think over the next few months we're going to see shitty storylines. We're going to see people, you know, getting dumped on. You know, it's like, for me, and I've got to say this, it's for me one of the crimes in wrestling history is the way that Vince McMahon has treated Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
He had a massive push when he first came in, obviously when he was with Vicky Guerrero and he was WWE champion.
Yeah.
This guy is up there with one of the most all-round perfect talents that company has ever had. What have they given him in the last decade? You know, people like Dolph, who are nice guys, who love wrestling, who love WWE, who are company men, who only want to stay in WWE, but sell really well and are good on the mic and, you know, can work with anyone. Vince dumps on them when it should be giving people like that. You know, it's like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. It's only recently where them two have been getting the respect that they deserve. But for me, Dolph Ziggler, that is the crime of the century. I mean, what has he had? What's he been given it in the last 10 years? Now, I've been, you know, we've been doing this podcast now for, you know, nearly 2 years on and off with massive breaks. But, you know, we've been doing the podcast for over 2 years. And I've always called them unicorns. Yeah. It's a unicorn when you've got Dolph Ziggler's a unicorn. He can talk on the mic. He's great in the ring. His aggressive moves always look really well. He sells like an absolute dream. You know, not many can do all of it. When you look at most wrestlers, most of them have some flaws. Seth Rollins, one of the best wrestlers that you've ever seen, not great on the mic. AJ Styles, probably the best in-ring performer of my lifetime, not great on the mic. Yeah. You know, it's not
Cesaro,
bad, but it's not.
Cesaro as well was not very good on the mic. Great wrestler.
Exactly, but then you've got people. So, like, you know, you've got. And like I said, I'm not. We'll get into the whole Rumble thing later on. We'll save that for the end. But then you've got, you know, the thing about my favorite as a kid was The Rock. Now, nobody can deny that he's arguably the best on the mic ever. But would you put him in the same breath as a Triple H or a Shawn Michaels in the ring? You can't. He wasn't on that level. So when you've got someone like The Rock if you think people who don't watch wrestling, they all know who The Rock is. And yes, now he's a movie star, but even before that, I remember being 8, 9, 10 years old and asking someone if they watch wrestling. They go, no. And then I'd say, well, do you know who The Rock is? And I'll go, yeah. Everyone knew who he was because he was that big, but he wasn't great in the ring. So even like the biggest stars usually are one or the other. Yeah. You know, like Dolph Ziggler's got everything. You watch Dolph Ziggler and you find me a flaw. He hasn't got any. Yet for the last decade, he's been absolutely dumped on. I think it's an absolute joke, mate, to be honest. But there's loads, and this is what I'm saying. This is what Vince will do now. Now he's back.
He seems to be getting a bit of a push at the moment. He seems to have come back slightly. But what I find with him, a bit like with, if you watch NXT, because I know a lot of people don't, but Indy Hartwell, who's a great wrestler, but she's sort of lost in the mix, and I find that with a bit with Dolph Ziggler and Shelton Benjamin and all those sort of great people that are good in the ring. They're just they seem to be a bit lost. Like WWE doesn't know what to do with them, and they're sort of just lost in the mix. And I think Dolph Ziggler's in that point where they don't. They know he's great. They know he's good on the mic. They just don't know what to do with him.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean, people like Indy Hartwell again. She's good in the ring, but her character doesn't grab you, and she isn't fantastic on the mic. So it's like we've always said, both of us have always said this: characterization in WWE is more important than your in-ring ability, unless you're a freak like AJ Styles. Like if, for example, one of my favorites is Ricochet. Now, this sounds awful. I'm just being honest. As a wrestling fan, I don't give a shit. I don't care about Ali. And I don't like that I don't care about him because he's forgettable. If he's not there, you don't think, oh, where was Ali this week? Yeah. He's forgettable. His character, this guy's an ex Chicago PD. They should use that more. He showed when he was the leader of Retribution that he can do character work, but his character isn't interesting. There's nothing different about him. Now, the fact that there aren't loads of Muslims that have made it to, WWE, and specifically someone like him, who's, pretty much on every Raw when he's fit, he's unbelievable in the ring. Ali when you watch him wrestle, you're like, oh my God, this guy is insane in the ring, but it's forgettable. He doesn't have a character that grabs you, which is why I'm still kind of baffled with the whole Karrion Kross thing. I'm still like, I don't get why no one reacts to him. He hasn't done what I thought he'd do. He's not exactly come back and set the world alight, but he has got a very different, very interesting character, and he's very good at playing that character. And he's got Scarlett alongside him, which makes the package even better. Yet, mate, me and you watch Raw and SmackDown, and whenever he's on any show, there's no noise. The crowd don't care about him, which I find really weird because he has got a good character.
I think that's why they've been putting him with Rey Mysterio to try and get him over. Yeah. But I'm going to see. I want it to move away from Rey Mysterio. I think Rey Mysterio. I'm at that point now. Rey Mysterio's done what he's done, and it's really. I don't really care about him now. You know what I mean? I don't. There's nothing there anymore to sort of go, oh wow, that's Rey Mysterio. Not like years ago, when you were like, oh, you've got to check out Rey Mysterio's match. He's phenomenal. Now it's sort of like he's done everything, and now he's just there, and it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, and I actually, when you said I don't care about Rey Mysterio, I was like, what? But I get what you're saying, and I think that's 50-50. I think that's 50% WWE's fault on the way that they've been packaging him since they've split him with Dom. And I think it's also probably slightly Rey's fault that he's at that age now where he is half and half in it. Now every time Rey Mysterio wrestles, I still think, wow, this guy for his age is something else. It's still, you forget how old he is because he moves like he did 20 years ago. You can't. The talent of the man is an absolute freak, But yeah, I think his position in the company now is very much,
support role.
It's to get a bit, yeah, exactly, support role. It's a legend and an experienced head in the changing rooms for people like Theory and young guys coming through to go and talk to, and Ross, hence why he's working with him. But I think also it's that the fans will always cheer for him. I think it's to get the hooray, yay, Ray, and then and then that's it. And it's a shame that his career's kind of come to that. To be honest, I think he should kind of do what Cena's doing because of his movies, but he's still not there all the time. Edge is probably the best example. Right now, I know he's had a lot of injuries since his WWE return, but he has been injury free for the last year. We've seen him 4 times in the last 12 months, and he's fit. But if he's there every week, it'll become stale like it has done with Ray. I think Ray kind of needs a little bit less TV time. Take a month off. Take 2 months off, and then come back. It's Ray's back. And then you're excited again. I think I I think he's probably going to have a match with Dom, maybe at this year's Mania or next year's Mania, whenever he's ready to retire. He'll have a match with Dom. Yeah. Dom will beat him, and that'll be his retirement. I seen a thing on Twitter yesterday. I've got to tell you this. I don't think I sent it yet, and I usually do. And it was it said it was a picture of Dominic and Ray, and it said if 25 years ago, if only Ray had used a condom, he now wouldn't have a condom. And I was like, that is brilliant. Fair play. Well done. That's a good one.
Yeah. And that's I think the thing with going talking about this and that and Dominic and that.
Yeah.
If you watched when he first came there, like people loved him. The father-son duo. They won the tag team titles. When they split it up, there was that big shock with Edge, and then they sort of stuck him with Judgment Day, which is okay. But I think a lot of people, including myself, we see him as like the little kid, as they're trying to make him like this big man. It doesn't work. They've obviously paired up Rhea with him. It just doesn't. I understand why people hate him. I totally understand that. But then again, he's playing a heel, so he's. We said this before about Bailey and people like that, where if you hate them that much, then they're doing their job right.
Yeah, of course.
But with Dominic, it's different, and I don't know why it's different, but it is on why we hate him. It's not because he's a good heel. It's just I feel that we've been forced him. They're forcing him on us, and we're like, we've already said we don't want this. We don't want it. He can stand in the background every week and not say a thing, and I think that would be better. But every week you've got him on the mic. Every week he's talking. It's like, I don't want that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm constantly flip flopping between Dominic. He's very lucky with the three people that he's surrounded with, specifically Finn Balor and Finn Balor's experience and talent, and he'll only learn off that. I think he's very fortunate that he's doing the whole "I am your mammy" thing with Rhea. That keeps him interesting. Look, the Judgment Day stuff at the minute is funny. I just answer me this, and this is where. Yes, Dominic's young and he's learning, which is why they've put him with Judgment Day. I think mainly to work with Finn. But answer me this: the promos that Dominic's cutting at the minute, where you've got Kevin Patrick on commentary saying, "Hang on, he was only in county jail for like 2 hours," and yet Dominic's going, "You don't know what it's like being in prison, changed, man. You don't know what I've seen," and not like. Just answer me this question: if Finn Balor was the one saying all this stuff, would you be laughing more? Would you find it funnier and more entertaining?
No, and I think that's the problem. That's the problem with it. I think that's the problem, is that it's Dominic, and where he said I was in jail and everything. What they should have done is kept him off TV for, a couple of weeks, not bring him straight back the following week. They should have done a little bit of a build up, But he's come out.
I think it would have been
really weird.
I think it would have been funnier. Like the point I was trying to make was, I think if Finn Balor is doing them promos, I think he would be able to deliver that promo better, and it would be funny. Whereas Dominic's a weird one because he doesn't actually stumble on his words that much. He usually gets his lines out, but when you're watching him, you think he's gonna. Any second is going to stumble on his words and say something stupid, and I don't know. But then he never does. He actually, says his line without stumbling on his words and getting mixed up and stuff. Yeah. So, but it just feels like he's gonna, I don't know. It's a weird one. Like
I said, it's just very weird. I just don't. I can understand why people don't like it. Because I think
he feels uncomfortable. Like when you watch him,
he feels the thing is, he looks uncomfortable as well.
Yeah, he does. Look, no disrespect, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way at all. But he would probably admit himself, if he's got a head screwed on his shoulders, right, that he's grown up with a silver spoon in his mouth. You know, is Rey Mysterio's son. You know, Rey grew up with no money and came from nothing.
Yeah.
It's different for Dominic. Like, Ray's grown up with his dad as a multimillionaire. You know, like, he's had a very, very different upbringing, and I think that's why he feels uncomfortable. I think now he's playing a con. I think when he's delivering the promos and he's talking about it, he looks really uncomfortable. Now, for me, you'd think he'd be having fun with that, because that's something that is, it's the polar opposite of what he's experienced in his life. Have fun with it. Be creative. He's not. I feel like he's not committing to this character. Now, for me, rewatch Raw, rewatch that promo. What's funny is Finn, Rhea, and Priest's reaction to what Dominic's saying, and then when Jimmy or Jay said whatever it was that they said back to him, the look on Balor's face was like, what? Like, that's what's funny. That's where the humour's coming from. It's coming from them. When, hang on a minute, it's Dom that's been to prison. It's Dom that's cutting the promo. It's Dom that's going, you don't know what I've seen. Yet it's not that we're laughing at. It's the people behind him that are making us laugh.
Yeah.
I find that strange.
I just, I mean, I don't know if he's just not, for me, he's just not clicked. He's not there at the minute. And he's not, I don't think he's connected well with the audience. It comes across funny, but I don't find Judgment Day as that comedy group. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's happened with they've been very sort of consistent. They've been the dark group. You can see what they're trying to do with the Ministry of Darkness. They've sort of switched it up now. It's the Judgment Day, but they're slightly, with the Dominic thing, they're becoming a comedy thing. And I'm like, no, keep it more serious, because that's what we want. But it's difficult because, like you're saying, with Dominic and that, when he's not, and all the comedy elements, it doesn't feel right.
I completely agree with you. It kind of feels like they're trying to be a bit DXy, if that makes sense. And they just
I kind of see them as sort of like the Ministry of Darkness, that sort of thing. Where they all come
the
out.
Comedy sketches at the minute, I think if you look at, you can see with the direction that they're going, it seems like they're trying to be a bit DXy, a bit playful and fun, and like, hang on a minute, a month ago, these were the guys to be feared.
Yeah.
And now they're running around, just doing, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're saying. And also as well, like, he's moved away from Rey. That's fine. Rey Mysterio said, I've gone to get away with it. Yet, every now and then, they do a video online where he's at his house, where they burgled it. And it's like, what's going on here? It's like, hang on. There's not a storyline here. I don't know why they're doing a video of him turning up at his dad's house with Rhea Ripley, and then getting arrested and all that. And I was just thinking, I don't know how that ties in. It's sort of like they've got a Judgment Day storyline, and then they've got Dominic, and he's got like this separate storyline going on as well with his dad. And it just doesn't fit. I just don't know why. It just doesn't fit.
No, it doesn't. And I just wanted to say as well, obviously, it kind of, goes without saying, rest in peace, Jay Briscoe. And, I think me and Kev pass on our condolences to his family, because, I think it's sad, obviously, the way John Huber died was obviously devastating for his wife and his son. But I think something like this, when it's a car crash, like, it's even more bitter pill to swallow. Your loved one is driving to work, and then you never see him again. Like, it's really, really sad. And it's I think some of the messages that have been put on Twitter, by people like Sami Zayn and stuff, and people who knew him
Kevin Owens,
Kevin Owens, and Dax and Cash, and sad, very, very sad.
Yeah, incredibly. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, like, so we, but yeah, we in regards to like the takeover, back to like with Vince McMahon and that, and like you're saying, we weren't too sure whether he'd come back or not. Then he had. Then there was rumours that an equity firm in Saudi had bought it, and then it was like no, but they were just talking. Since then as well, There's been a report out about Disney, and we were talking about that on the last podcast as well.
Yeah,
and actually, a meeting was set up between Disney CEO and WWE board. So, I don't know where it's going yet. There's been reports out saying they're not selling it. They are selling it. I don't know what's going on.
No one knows.
The shock thing is when Vince came back, and we weren't too sure, and then it came back saying, no, he definitely is. And then Stephanie was like, well, I'm stepping down.
Yeah, that
I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was like, wow, Vince has come in and fucking binned his own daughter off. But, look, that might have happened. Now, we were saying last week about him selling it and why it's a disgrace. He's built this phenomenal business and franchise. That should be passed down to his children and his grandchildren. And him selling it off from under the feet of his children and his grandchildren, I find personally absolutely disgusting. Something
happened behind the scenes. We know that that it only came out recently, but it happened quite a few years ago, and that was when Linda divorced him. And that news only broke fairly recently, a couple of years ago, but apparently years before then they secretly got separated. We know he's had problems with Shane on and off. When Shane left originally the company, he sold all his shares and started up a social media company in I think it was in China or somewhere like that, somewhere in the Middle East, and done really well for himself. But yeah, there was some tension there. And then when he came back to Shane as well, there was also, once again, there was tension between him and Vince. So,
look, I mean, look, from we don't know. Like we never know the McMahon dynamic. I think Shane and Vince probably do clash. They've kind of portrayed it like Steph and Vince have always got on really well and are really close, but who knows? They might hate each other. Like, nobody knows. I mean, at first I was like, he's come in and he's binned his own daughter off. What an absolute scumbag. But then, 2 days after, she had ankle surgery. So, and it was done so quickly after her announcing that she was stepping down. For me, it's kind of a double-edged thing where one part of it, like with a needed ankle surgery anyway, she's going to need time to recover. Yeah. But then also when you look at the fact that in her statement she says, and like this was talked about when Vince initially retired, she said that she took indefinite leave from the company. She'd spoken to her dad and the other board members last year and said, I need some time off, and with no return date. She took indefinite leave, and she going to come back when she felt she was ready. Then obviously everything happened with Vince, that the whole sex allegations and paying off and all that stuff, and then when Vince had to retire, she had to come back to the company. Now she'd only been on leave like 6 weeks at this point, and she had to come back. So it makes sense now Vince is back for her to go, well, I needed time off, and I've only come back because of everything that happened with you, so now I'm going to take my time off. But then you cannot overlook the other part of it. Her official statement after that states, I've left the company. Yeah. Last time it was I'm taking indefinite leave, which just means I'm still employed by the company, but I'm taking indefinite leave. I'm going away until I feel like I'm ready to come back.
Yeah.
She hasn't done that this time.
Right.
She's gone, I am out. I'm gone. Bye-bye. Good luck. Like that for me is like, why? Something's clearly happened. Why would she her whole life has been WWE. When her father eventually dies, it will be her that would have run it. And now she's just had 8 months experience where she has actually been running it, and she's by the looks of it, she's done an amazing job here in Nick Khan. But so why leave all that? And her husband is the head of creative. It doesn't make sense. Why would you fully walk away if something's obviously happened?
Yeah.
I think the most obvious answer is she's not happy that Vince has come back. I think, you know.
Yeah, just with the timing of it, you know.
Yeah, it is weird.
He got signed in. He was there for a cut. I think when they brought him back to the company, he was there less than a week, and she left.
Yeah, it doesn't take a genius to work out. It's her dad returning that has led to her making the decision that I'm going. You know, and I think maybe it's just what Vince did and the light that put on WWE because he was, you know, the guy.
Yeah.
I think maybe I'm just assuming, I don't know, maybe Steph has thought, well, you shouldn't be coming back. Like, you embezzled funds out of your own company fraudulently to pay off women that you'd slept with, which is actually illegal. And so then now he comes back, maybe she's just gone, well, no, because look at what you did last time. And then I didn't get the leave that I wanted and needed to, you know, sort my head out. I had to come back because of your fuck up, because you're a dirty old man, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just a case of he's come back. Every board member voted yes, and she's obviously gone, well, you know, what does that say about the other board members? What Vince McMahon has done? If he didn't have as much power and influence as he has, he would never have worked again after what he did.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
If this is Tony Khan at AEW, if Tony Khan does that, he's never working in that realm again. He's done.
Yeah.
But Vince McMahon makes his own rules, doesn't he? You know, it's like, you know, WWE carried on through the COVID era, but he had to ring his old mate, you know, ex-president Mr. Donald Trump to get that signed off on. You know, Vince McMahon can basically do whatever he wants.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah. I want to just come on to AEW actually, and did you see Rampage this week with the Willow and Ruby street fight?
Yeah.
I thought, it was. Do you know what? I thought that match was really good, but the amount of blood that Ruby lost was over. I think a little bit over the top. I'm surprised they didn't stop and patch her up or anything, because the cut she had was to bleed that much. It was fairly deep.
Yeah, but
considering none of the other girls in that match bled.
Yeah, you know, I don't know on that. I don't know on that one, you know, because it's like that is such a difficult one. It
was a street fight. The thing is, when I've seen a lot of people say, why did they put that match on Rampage? Why did there have to be blood? Well, two things. One, I think, you know, Rampage viewing figures haven't been very good, so obviously put on the street fight. And secondly, there's blood. It's a street fight, so you know, one of them might have gotten hurt, which in this case it was Ruby, but it was. I think the bleeding was excessive. I think she was supposed to bleed, but not like she did, because it was a bit excessive. But none of the other girls in the match did open or anything. So, but it was a street fight. You've got to realise it was a street fight.
And accidents happen, and I think,
of course,
you know, to stop the match for a cut, like that is such a difficult.
Stopping the match, but at least
no. But you know, like they're gonna have to get her out of the match to patch her up to then let her go back in, and it does ruin the flow of the match. Yeah. So someone has to make that
call.
That call. Someone backstage.
I would imagine it would be Ruby's.
Yeah, but exactly. So to be honest, I don't think it's a bad way of doing it. I think it's the way WWE used to do it, and the way hopefully WWE will do it now. And if Triple H is still in charge of creative, and apparently he is, but only time will tell on that one. I think AEW do run that way. What they'll say to the wrestlers, look, you know, you call an audible, you tell the ref, I need, you know, because she's clearly fine, and that's the thing that I've seen fans going, oh, you know, she could have lost that much blood, it could have been safe, could have been this, it could have been that. Yeah, but it hasn't. And if Ruby, I'm pretty sure, don't forget the referees wear earpieces. It only takes Tony Khan to say to the ref in earpiece, ask Ruby is she okay? The ref then asks Rubens, goes, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, you know, sometimes the call has to be taken out of the wrestler's hands because they're always going to want to carry on. But at the end of the day, this is their job. Accidents happen. She's got a bad cut. She's bled a lot. Accidents happen. You know, and you know, especially with AEW, because they're a little bit. I would say they are a little bit too loose with the rules. Sometimes they do let the wrestlers do stuff where it's like, right, come on, like you're taking it too far now. Like, you know, they do allow stuff to happen that for me is a little bit too 90s. You know.
Yeah, especially with the Acclaimed.
Yeah.
Especially with the Acclaimed. There's a lot of 90s stuff with them coming out rapping, but they sort of bringing up like the issues of the day sort of thing, and some of it's a bit close. I think they've been very close before, but I think some of it they say is a bit close on the nose sort of thing, but they get away with it. So you know,
how do
you think of what do you think of the Acclaimed anyway?
Sometimes I love it. Sometimes I think one of them's made a comment over someone who died a few months back. I can't remember who it was, but I know that got received really poorly. Look, in that world, you have to come up with something unique, different that's going to get you noticed, and they certainly get noticed. We're talking about them. Yeah, they're winning. You know, so hey, fair play to them. You know.
Yeah. Should we get onto the Rumble?
Because we don't. I think we.
The Rumble is on next Saturday, obviously. So we'll probably do when we do the next show. It'll probably be all Rumble related. You know, go through best Rumbles and all that sort of stuff. But we'll do that next week. But so obviously there was the vignette shown this week on Raw with Cody announcing he's going to be in the Rumble. He then tweeted out a number 3. So now people now predict that he's going to be the 3rd entrance now.
But last Raw he tweeted out the number 2, and the week before that he tweeted out the number 1. So I have no idea what that means.
Okay. Yeah,
if you look back through his Twitter, the last 3 Raws he's done 1, 2, and 3. So
when it was announced this week, someone put on Twitter saying he's tweeted out number 3. Does that mean he's going to come in 3rd?
I just need to ask your opinion on this.
Yeah.
Do you agree with them announcing it or not?
It's a difficult one. I would have personally liked to have it been a surprise. No vignettes, no nothing. I understand why they've done it to sort of, I don't know, boost numbers, boost interest, because I'm wondering if people thought, well, Cody's injured, he's not going to be there, Edge won't be there, all this.
It's the Rumble. It's the Rumble.
Exactly.
It's the Royal Rumble. It's everyone's favourite pay-per-view. Everyone's tuning in and watching it. It's the fucking Royal Rumble. I don't buy into this bullshit at all. All I see is, oh, well, they want to get the numbers up. It's the Royal Rumble.
It's WWE as well. You know, the 2 most watched pay-per-views in the whole of WWE is the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania.
But answer me this, right? As a fan, you look back to your favourite memories as a kid. Are your favourite memories those shocking surprises that you weren't expecting? That's the shit you remember. That's the stuff that 25, 30 years later you still get goosebumps thinking about. Me and you will be doing this podcast in 20 years' time going, mate, do you remember when Cody returned at WrestleMania? And you'll get goosebumps and the hairs will stand up on your arms. Because the memories that live with you for decades are the shocking returns, because nothing tops that. Nothing in wrestling can beat that feeling. That is why Royal Rumble is everyone's favourite pay-per-view, because you have no idea who's coming out.
No, that's right.
I've always disagreed with people announcing themselves in the Rumble. And people go, yeah, but it's obvious that Seth Rollins is going to win the Royal Rumble match. It's not the point. It's not the point. Yes, it is obvious. But what people need to remember is there's only 30 people. Now, there's a lot more than 30 wrestlers. So there are going to be some people that don't get a spot, and there's always a couple of surprise.
Yeah.
You know, we like a couple of people from NXT coming up. We want 2 or 3, you know, returns and surprises. That then leaves 25 people that are regular. You look at how many wrestlers are on Raw and SmackDown every week. There's a lot more than 25. So there's going to be people that don't get a spot. You know, so I don't agree with the announcement. Boosting it for numbers. It's the Royal Rumble. You don't need to. This is Cody Rhodes. He's one of the biggest names in wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, if they hadn't been doing any of the promo packages and they hadn't, let's just pretend they hadn't mentioned him at all for the last couple of months. And now we're going, do you think Cody would have come back at the Rumble? I mean, you'd have gone, well, it's about the right time. You know, it's been like, 7.5 months.
Yeah.
They said he'd be out for 9. But, if he's been rehabbed really well, he could come back a month. And it's the Rumble. So, we can kind of protect his shoulder a little bit because it's not, a match, if that makes sense. So, it's more than possible. Me and you probably would have gone, yeah, I think Cody's coming back. But I think Cody's coming back. You don't know. Nobody knows. Like, it's not actually been 9 months yet. So you will have the other side of the argument where people go, well, they said 9 months. It's not been 9 months. So maybe he doesn't come back. Why announce it? This is one of the biggest names in the world. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like I said, people go, yeah, so like the thing that I sent you this morning, yeah, but WWE are already are happy with the surprises they've already got lined up.
Yeah.
So this is the Royal Rumble. When we were kids, the Royal Rumble was more special than what it is now because there were no social media, there were nothing leaked, no one knew, and back then they didn't, say, "Oh, I'm declaring myself in the Royal Rumble match." They didn't do that shit. It was the excitement of the Royal Rumble was you tuned in to find out who was in it.
Yeah,
every single person who came out.
The thing you could always guarantee was the entrance number 1 and entrance 30 because years ago they always used to do a match where it would determine who would be entrance 30 or entrance number 1. Yeah. I think years gone when it was Raw and SmackDown, the proper split. They had a match on Raw and it was determined who would enter at number 1. I remember Chris Jericho entering that as well, and Shawn Michaels as well, both entering that match, which got them number 1. And the number 30 spot was always on SmackDown. So you sort of always knew who was coming out at number 30 and who was coming out at number 1. But the middle bit, that was it. We didn't know. Yeah. We didn't know who was coming out when or anything.
But that's what's exciting about the Royal Rumble. That's why it's everyone's favourite. Like, people declaring themselves in the match and announcing that Cody Rhodes is back, and then obviously social media doesn't help, with the whole, it's looking like the Rock's going to be one of the surprises. Yeah. It's looking, I put it at a 50-50 whether one of them is going to be CM Punk. There's a lot of noise around that, and the difference this year is he's had a taste of what it's like, by going back to AEW.
Yeah.
So, hey, anything's possible there. But there's, like, if you look at it,
yeah,
half of them we already know because they've already announced who's in it. I don't want to know. know. Like, people, I want to be watching it and go, yes, Seth Rollins is in it. Of course, Seth Rollins is in it. Of course, Kevin Owens is in it. But you still don't know.
The thing is, it's a little bit more difficult on the women's side because you kind of think last year it was Mickie James coming back as the Impact champion, which she is again at the moment. But it's sort of like that was the surprise back then. But it's now for me. It's like, so what woman is going to be the surprise? What surprise entrance?
Twins.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. You got Raw 30th coming up on Monday, and the Bellas are going to be there. So is the Undertaker, and you kind of think, it's a couple of days out from the Rumble. Are these going to be some of these legends that are turning up? Are they going to be in the Rumble? Like you said, the Bellas. I think they were in it last year, weren't they? I think one of them was in it. Brie was in it last year, I think, or the year before.
Year before.
So yeah, there could be them. Beth Phoenix, that would be I think that would be huge because she's sort of come back with Edge, didn't she, and sort of went away.
Well,
but she's still got it
since the Judgment Day took her out. So
that's what I mean. So it could play really well if Rhea's in there, and Rhea goes in and sort of clears house, and the next one is Beth. She comes running down and sort of throws her over.
I'd keep your eyes on Nia Jax. I think she might return.
Yeah, Nia Jax. Yeah, I know there was a lot of talk about that, but she did message out and said because she started training again and she started posting videos because I don't know whether they're friends or friends with benefits, but she's doing a lot with Mojo Rawley at the moment, and she's been training with him. And someone mentioned, "Are you training for the Rumble?" And she said no because I'm done with wrestling. But how many times have we heard that from people? That's the thing. How many times have we heard people saying, "I'm done with wrestling," and then they turn up? What is really interesting, though, is you've got Chelsea Green. She hasn't officially come back yet. She could make her appearance at the Rumble. But also, obviously, he's her partner. I forgot his name.
Zack Ryder.
Yeah. Well, he's actually, yeah. He's just tried to trademark Zack Ryder as a name. So people are now speculating, is he coming back at the Rumble for an appearance?
Possibly, yeah.
The problem I have with a lot of these surprise appearances is it means that someone else gets left out. And it's
who you leave,
yeah.
To leave someone out for The Undertaker or Stone Cold or The Rock, fair enough. But no disrespect, but to leave someone out for a returning Zack Ryder, Zack Ryder, Chelsea Green, Emma, no one's really that bothered.
Yeah.
Who are you going to be more excited about, Zack Ryder or Jay White or Will Ospreay?
Yeah.
Who's going to get you more excited? Yeah.
Well, this is the thing, and I always find that. I found that last year actually when I was watching it, and was sort of like, I was sort of like, man, they've left out this, they've left out him. You know what I mean? It was just some people you would have loved to have seen in it.
Yeah.
Weren't there because they had so many people sort of returning or coming back and stuff like that.
I tell you one thing that they do need to drop: bloody Omos. Oh, he bores
they're sort of doing something with the Hurt Business, which I really love at the moment, actually, because the Hurt Business worked before.
Yeah.
Do you know what that has been a sort of like an up and down thing. So the Hurt Business they were massive. Then they broke them up because I had no idea. Obviously, Vince McMahon was in charge that time, and then they brought them back together again, and then broke them all up. And now they're sort of trying to bring them back together again. And it's like, really? We're trying for a third time now. But it would mean that Omos looks like he's going to be with them, with the Hurt Business, as I would say that their hired muscle, if you know what I mean. He's going to be at the ringside, isn't he? Just like he was at the match this past week with, in the tag team match. Omos was there when he was sort of clearing house a little bit. It just looks like that they're going to use him as like a body force, like an enforcer sort of thingy. Omos is really difficult because he's big. He's limited. A lot of these big guys as well, you've got to realise their moveset is so limited. I mean, even when you look at it, even the Big Show was fairly limited on what he could do. And that's the problem when you've got, Great Khali and Big Show, and obviously, Omos, is that they're limited on what they can do.
Not everyone can be a freak like the Undertaker, can they?
No. And the Undertaker was very big for his age. He looked, he's menacing, but I mean, he could move. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's 7 foot tall. So, he could really move for someone as big as he was.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, with the Hurt Business and stuff. But yeah, it's a sort of, like you're saying, it's who do they leave out? There's a few people, but
I can just see him getting a big push. Like, it's annoying me. I can see
there's a few things as well in the Rumble as well. It's like, oh, we're talking now about surprises, but who from NXT is going to be there?
Yeah,
you know, Braun Breaker was on it last year.
I think it could be Braun again, potentially.
Because he was on it last year. And then you've got the Grayson Wallows coming up at the moment.
Maybe someone like a Cameron Grimes, you know,
Cameron Grimes has been, I think he's actually injured at the moment. I'm not too sure. He's just gone, hasn't he? He's just completely gone. Yeah, I don't know what's in there.
I think he was injured. I think he might be back in training now. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I just what I'd say about Omos was I can really see him getting a big push in the Rumble. I can see him, you know, eliminating 4, 5, 6 people, and it's just gonna really do me head. Like I have.
That's the sort of time when you
just like someone his size like should be a lot more menacing and like he just there's just nothing about him. You know, there's absolutely nothing about him. He's 7'3". That's the only thing that's interesting about him is he's 7'3". Even when he does pick people up, like it doesn't look like when Braun Strowman is ragdolling people about or Brock Lesnar's ragdolling people about. It's like, oh my god, it's terrifying. Like the way that they're being manhandled. He's 7'3", clearly strong. Yet he doesn't look like he's manhandling anyone. He actually looks like he struggles to pick people up.
Yeah.
Like if you're 7'3" and massive, yet you look like you're struggling to pick Mustafa Ali up, then what's the point? You know what I mean? I don't get him.
That's the sort. He's going to be one of those entrants, which they do in every Rumble. So there's going to be like, I don't know. It normally gets to a point, doesn't it, in the Rumble? It's normally midway through where there's normally about 7 or 8 guys in there, and then you know they're all mid-card wrestlers, and then they send someone like the Kane or Omars or someone like that, someone big, and they'll come out and they'll all gang up on him, and he'll eventually break away, and he'll throw every one of them out, and he'll be the only one in the ring. And then what they tend to do then is, what they've done before is get someone a bit bigger out. So like Brock Lesnar, he would come out because they did the same thing 2 years ago with Keith Lee, if you remember rightly. So I think there was about 10 of them in the ring. Keith Lee came out and they tried taking him out, and he just took everybody out, didn't he? Yeah. And then Lesnar came out, and then there was sort of 2 or 3 of them still in there, and they sort of had that stare down. You know, the match we never got. I don't think we're ever going to get. But we did have one against Gunther as well last year.
Do you know, I think that's the other thing about the Rumble that I'm a little bit kind of not as excited as I should be about, because WWE announcing everything has kind of ruined a lot of it. But another thing is, I think everyone kind of knows who's winning them both. Like, I cannot see anyone other than Rhea Ripley and Cody Rhodes as the 2 winners. I genuinely can't. I cannot see anyone else winning it but Rhea and Cody. I just look.
Well, they are. Well, there was reports coming out that they are now going to separate the titles. Obviously, the Raw titles on this week. So they're not facing for the 2 titles. They're facing just the Raw titles this week. So a lot of people are saying because it's the 30th, that's when they're going to drop them, the Raw titles.
Yeah, potentially. But do you know what? And I've got to ask you this as well. Got to ask you this one.
Yeah.
I've just said I can't see anyone other than Rhea and Cody winning it, and I stand by that. But if the rumours are true, and one of the surprises is The Rock. Yeah. Doesn't The Rock, if The Rock's a surprise and entering the Rumble, doesn't he kind of have to win it? Do you not? Because what's the point in bringing... What would be the point in bringing The Rock back for him to...
I think we spoke about this before, actually off camera and stuff. We spoke about this. It was like they could do Reigns versus The Rock. It doesn't need to be for the titles.
Yeah.
They could still do that match, but not with the titles. And that's the problem they'll have with The Rock. Is there's two things that will happen. If he does come back, he'll go against Roman Reigns, but you can almost guarantee that he will put over Reigns.
Yeah.
So it becomes a match where you're like, well, he's not going to be, if he wins the title, he's not going to be like Brock Lesnar. He's just not going to be there. It's going to be another Brock Lesnar. He's going to be in and out, few matches, miss pay-per-views, and all of that.
Look. I honestly think if The Rock does come back in the Rumble or not, if it is, it's in Hollywood as well. It just makes sense for the main event of WrestleMania Night 2 to be Roman Reigns versus The Rock. It's in Hollywood, where The Rock left WWE to go to Hollywood, and I think Roman officially retires his cousin. I think
they should.
That is about the blood. Roman solidifying himself as the head of the table by taking out The Rock.
Yeah, they've like if you've watched all the documentaries and everything about Roman Reigns and about WrestleMania and stuff like that, you'll know that even the Undertaker said that they done Roman Reigns dirty. And they said, and even the Undertaker admitted, if you go and watch his stuff on the network, he said he sort of failed Roman Reigns. He said, even Brock Lesnar's come out and said, I shouldn't have been the one that broke Brock Lesnar, the Undertaker's streak. It should have been Roman Reigns. And even the Undertaker said, it should have been Roman Reigns. And he said the match that was followed that streak, where he had the match with Roman Reigns, the Undertaker said he wasn't 100%. And there was a bit where he tried picking up the Undertaker and Roman couldn't. And the Undertaker said, that was my fault. That's on me. That was my fault. I went limp and I couldn't help him carry me. And I think if you watched it now, it looks like they've now got to a point where they've pushed him, but they're trying to get him over still, if you know what I mean. Even Brock Lesnar, he beat Brock Lesnar. So, help to get over him.
This last 6 months has felt like he's over.
Yeah. He's
the last 6 months has solidified himself. He's over.
But I think they stumbled when they tried to do it at the WrestleMania when he beat the Undertaker. He's the second person to do it. I think they sort of realised that he should have been the one. Even Brock Lesnar didn't want to break the streak, and they actually said it should be the younger guy. It should be. Even the Undertaker admitted it shouldn't have been Brock Lesnar. It should have been Roman Reigns. The match that we had after where he beat me, it was nothing. Yeah, Brock never needed it.
Brock didn't need it, but don't forget, the other side of the argument, which you've got to pay respect to, this is the Undertaker at WrestleMania. It had to be someone special and take something special to end that streak. Now, when Roman beat Undertaker a couple of years later after Brock had broke the streak, it wasn't the Roman Reigns of now.
No.
And I think if Roman would have been the one to break the streak, then it would have gone down like a shower of shit. Because if this version of Roman, I don't think anyone would have had an issue with it. But I think they obviously wanted to break the streak, and at the time, the only one really who looked is Brock Lesnar. Is the only one who you looked at the time. Who, if you forget that, wrestling, a lot of it is scripted, of course it is.
Yeah.
If this was a real fight, Brock Lesnar would beat living piss out of everyone signed in WWE. Look, like, this guy's a real life fighting machine. Look at what he did in the UFC.
Yeah.
He's an absolute beast.
I was thinking about, if The Rock didn't turn up now, I was thinking actually about WrestleMania, and I was thinking, what would be sort of the best way for Roman to lose it, right? And for the second night to be a massive celebration, right? So I was thinking, right, you have Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title night 1, right? And Kevin Owens wins, yeah? Night 2, you have the underdog story. You have Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns for the WWE title, right? And he wins. And then you will get that moment, which, going back and everything, but there was that moment, the only time that moment has ever happened, and it hasn't happened again, and it can happen this time, is we know that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have been lifelong friends forever, right? Absolute lifelong friends. Yeah. And it kind of flips a little bit, and you kind of think Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. Yeah, WrestleMania 21, when they both won the World Heavyweight title and the WWE title at the same time. Best friends. Even Eddie Guerrero came out at the end and hugged Benoit, because not only that, they had both wanted this for such a long time. Eddie Guerrero was an underdog story. Chris Benoit had been fighting for this for such a long time, and they hugged each other. They've been friends for years, and there was just a massive celebration. And I'm thinking, how can you get that? At the moment, right, the best underdog story there is Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And I'm even now, right? And I don't know if anyone else would agree with me or anything, but you would lose your mind. I would lose my mind if Sami Zayn won the WWE title from Roman Reigns. I would fucking love it.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
It would be fucking mad. I'd just go nuts. It would be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
This storyline has been building to that as well. Not only that, we've seen Sami come from, someone trying to get into the bloodline, then becoming an honorary Uce, then becoming an actual, on par to Roman Reigns. And, what I mean? I don't think that they would be where they are without him, if you know what I mean. I think Sami Zayn brought the comedy element. He brought the seriousness to it. Now they've got this thing with Kevin Owens and that, which is really, really good. The storyline's brilliant, but it needs to end. And I think the best way to end that is for him to win a title off of Reigns cleanly.
Yeah, I think the only other big celebration that there would be is Cody Rhodes, because Rhodes has never held the WWE title.
That would be huge as well.
And that's the main reason why I think Rhodes will win the Rumble.
But you then have to go back and look and think, right, okay, but how would that affect Roman Reigns losing 2 matches side by side?
Yeah, but you see, your Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn theory is brilliant, and I think if it happened, it'd be amazing. What I think will happen is Cody will win the Rumble.
Yeah.
Night. I don't know whether it'll be night 1 or night 2. It would probably make more sense for it to be night 1. The main event of night 1 will be Roman versus Rock, and Roman will win and retire the Rock and keep one of the belts. So again, I think they are going to split both belts, so it will only be for one belt. Say it's the Universal title. So it's Rock versus Roman, night 1, Universal title, Roman retains. Night 2 main event is the winner of the Royal Rumble, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the WWE title, and Cody wins it. That way, Roman keeps one of the belts and continues his streak, continues holding a title for we're now near 3 years, and Cody takes the other belt, and then you've got the massive, the underdog story. You've got the shock, the surprise. He came back to WWE to win the WWE title because
he'd never done it. Yeah.
His dad never did it. His brother Goldust never did it. And
getting on to Dustin a little bit, he's announced he's retired, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I think his last match was a couple of weeks ago, and that's it. I don't blame him. He's had double hip surgery. He's been there, he's done that. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from as well. He retires the Rock on night 1. It keeps up that big ego as well for him, doesn't it? I smashed him. I've done him.
Oh, yeah, but then as well, he's then gotten out that this is Roman, even though he's done what The Rock did. The Rock was a heel. And they loved him that much. They had to turn him babyface because he just got cheered so much. The same thing is happening with the Bloodline. I agree with what you said about Sami Zayn. the bloodline would not be where they are now had it not have been for the comedy element of Sami Zayn. You know, all you see is signs and T-shirts of feeling Uzi, and like Sami gets a bigger cheer than Roman does.
Yeah.
You know, so like I completely agree with that. But Roman is still a heel. Just because he's getting cheered, he's not a babyface. He's still like the blood. He's sending the bloodline to Raw to go and attack everyone. That's the heel move, right?
Yeah.
So Roman could then do the ultimate heel thing and say, "Oh well, I only lost the belt to Cody Rhodes because I had a match against The Rock on night one. This is a joke. I had to wrestle two matches in the same weekend. This is a, you know." Then he's got the whole heel thing, making excuses, boo hoo, woe is me, you know, and then all the fans will obviously boo that. You know, but he then still keeps one of the belts. He retires The Rock, which solidifies himself as the head of the table, and you're probably the greatest from the Samoan Anoa'i family ever in terms of what he's achieved. Retires his big cousin, keeps the Universal title, and then loses the WWE title to Cody. But like I said, then he's got an out. Then he's got an excuse. Yeah, but 24 hours earlier, I had a grueling match against The Rock.
Yeah.
To me, that just makes sense.
We'll probably know. Well, we'll know more anyway soon.
Sorry. What about Punk? Like, again, I think Punk is a little bit different than a Rock. Like because we've known this for like 6 months, that because this WrestleMania is at Hollywood, they want Roman versus Rock. So if Rock does enter the Royal Rumble, and we know that the plans are for Rock versus Roman, then that would mean that The Rock would be winning the Royal Rumble. But then what about Cody? But I think there's a kind of a similar element as well with CM Punk. Because would CM Punk even come back because here's the thing with CM Punk. He left WWE because he weren't main event of WrestleMania and he felt like he deserved it. I think any wrestling fan was screaming, he deserves it. What CM Punk had done for that company for the 3 or 4 years prior to him leaving was unbelievable. Like, Undertaker had injuries, Stone Cold retired, Rock left, Shawn Michaels retired, Triple H semi-retired because of injuries, Kurt Angle left, Edge got his neck injury and retired. For Randy Orton was very, very young at the time. You only had Cena and Punk. There was a 2 or 3 year period there where Cena and Punk carried WWE on the back, the two of them. So he deserved to main event Mania 100%, and he left WWE because they wouldn't let him main event Mania. So if he is coming back in the Royal Rumble, the winner of the Royal Rumble gets to main event WrestleMania, which is what he's always wanted. So again, I think Punk would only come back if he went, look, if you want me to come back at the Rumble, well then I want to win it because then I'm guaranteed to main event WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know with Punk. It'd be really. I'll tell you, that's another thing as well. It's like, are we going to get a really true sort of forbidden door as well? There's just so much.
I think
so much that can happen. There's so much that's going to go on. And like they said, we like that tweet said, we know about Cody Rhodes, and they were like, yeah, but they've got more surprises, and they're quite happy with their surprise. And it's like, oh wow, what could it be? The Rock maybe? Could it be something else? We're going to see it.
I would love Jericho. I would love for Chris Jericho to have one night as a goodbye. And he's at that level, like as I was saying last week, where he could turn around to Tony Khan and go, "I'm going doing it. It's one night only." And Tony Khan would go, "Okay, you Chris Jericho. You can go and do what you want." And I think it would be amazing if Jericho could come back and say goodbye to his fans. He doesn't have to win it. There doesn't have to be made a big thing of him being signed to AEW. It's just a WWE legend returning for a goodbye, and I think it would be amazing if they allowed that.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm really excited for next week. But obviously we'll talk about it more next week when we do our chat, because we'll do it before Royal Rumble, and we'll do our predictions then, and have a look at the other Royal Rumbles as well, what our favourite is and stuff like that. But we're going to leave it there. I think we've covered a few things, and we've done all right. How do you think the stream went, Dan?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it was another good show. It was enjoyable. Yeah, it always is. It always is, though. I mean,
I can't wait until next week, because obviously we're being so close to Rumble now, and finding out what our favourite Rumbles are, favourite entrances, all that sort of stuff. So, anyway, that'll be next week.
Have you enjoyed it? Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I love all this stuff.
It's we do this, and I think it works, and I think our regulars who tune in every week and enjoy the show, they enjoy it because it's just two mates having a chat.
Yeah, of course it is.
And it's as simple as that. So we will see you all next week, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Take it easy,
guys.
Take it easy.